This is obviously the final chance we get to talk to coaches in the final preparations for the game. I hope they've had a tremendous week. I think this is when the Sunbow Associate kind of backs off and let them do 100% preparation for the game. So I'll read you a little bio of each coach. They'll come on and make a statement. Y'all can ask questions, and we'll follow the same thing with our head coach. We're going to start with Coach Odell Haggins. Florida State are the visitors tomorrow, so we'll start with him. Just a couple of words about Coach. He enters his 26th season on Florida State's coaching staff, and in 2019 has served as FSU's associate head coach and coaching the defensive line after overseeing the defensive tackle since 1996. Coach Haggins was promoted to associate head coach in 2014 and then interim head coach on December 1st, 2017, and again on November 3rd, 2019. Throughout his tenure, he has helped FSU post a 240, 79-1 record with 13 ACC titles and 2 national championships, as well as multiple bowl eligibilities for an NCAA record 36 straight year. And in recognition of his many accomplishments at Florida State, he was inducted in the Florida State Athletic Hall of Fame class of 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Odell Haggins. Coach.
Bernie, I didn't know all this, brother.
Hey, you need to come here more often than every 53 years.
Yeah. On behalf of Florida State University, Sunbow, we really enjoyed it here, man. And the people, the hospitality is outstanding. And myself, I've never been to El Paso before, and I was just surprised. I thought a little small place is a big place, but as a staff and as a football team, we really enjoyed El Paso. And football team, Florida State University, we're in a position to play Arizona State Coach Herm, one of my favorites, television, one of my favorites. I used to watch him all the time. But our kids, we practiced well, went out, had a little fun at night, and I made curfew one night at 10 o'clock. I said, Coach, why? You need to rest. Yeah, but we've had fun here at the Sun Bowl. We're looking forward to playing Arizona State. We know we have challenges. We have a big challenge ahead of us. But our kids, you know, this morning I was talking to a few guys. I said, Coach, it's time to play the game. We've been out here long enough. I said, yeah, it's time, guys. I said, today, the last day of preparation, we got to make sure we're on our P's and Q's. We're out there understanding what we have to do as a football team. Well, I'd like to say to you all, thank you very much. You guys been kind to our players, interviewing them and stuff, and they're looking forward to tomorrow. Any questions?
Odell, obviously, the big news came out today that Tamarion and Marvin are coming back. When did you find out that was going to happen, and how huge can that be for the program moving forward?
They told me a few days ago, but that's awesome. The kids love Florida State University. You got Marvin, Wilson, and T. I call him T. That's great. That tells you a lot. Unfinished business. I wish Marvin was playing tomorrow, but thank God he's coming back. But those kids, they know what we have at Florida State, what we're building. So they want to come back and help finish it and get things back where it's supposed to be at Florida State. And I'm going to say this right here. People saying, well, the program is this. No, no, no. We're just going through transition. We're Florida State. Our brand is very good. And they know that. That's the reason why they want to stay.
Coach, this side, Armando from Mexico Claro Sports. How do you feel these last hours, like FSU coach? How do you feel? These
last hours being the head coach?
Yeah.
That's the question you asking me?
Yeah.
Well, it's just like being a coach. I'm going up and doing my job. It's no different. I know I have more responsibility. I have to look after more, but God has given me a lot of strength. You know, dealing with people, learning how to, you know, motivate kids, but it's a job to me. Something I love to do. So, it's good.
Thank you, Coach.
Coach, what's Brett Bloomquist, El Paso Times, what's the scouting report on Arizona State? What do you guys have to be ready for?
Well, they're a disciplined football team. They have a very good quarterback. They have very good skill position. They have very good defense. Turnover ratio +10. They're a very good football team. So you know the head coach of their football team has a lot of experience, and he gets on his kids. You can tell they play very hard.
What impresses you most about Arizona State?
One thing I can tell you this, the young quarterback they have, he know the offense, he understands offense. And you can tell he's a gym rat. What I mean by a gym rat, he studies the film. That kid, pressure doesn't bother him. Yeah, he's smooth underneath pressure. And the defense, they run to the ball, they play hard. They got complicated coverages and stuff. They don't show you everything.
Odell, what do you think Marvin was hearing back from the NFL, and how long has he agonized over this decision?
Well, let me tell you something. I don't know what Marvin was hearing. I let Marvin and his mother make that decision. I'm an advisor, a father figure to him. I stay out of that. I'm a father figure to him first.
How special has he been to Florida State over these last 2 or 3 years?
Well, I'll tell you this little story. We came back from Boston College. You know, the week of situation happened. And we came back late at night. We were getting off the bus. He was coming down there with his hand operating on it, screaming and hollering. That tells you a lot right there at 11 or 12 o'clock at night. We won the game. Very special.
Bill, did you ever cross paths with Coach Herm before, and what's it been like getting to interact with him over the last few days?
Yes. Back in the mid-'90s, Coach Herm used to be at Tampa. And me as a young coach, Coach Andrews and Coach Glad, we used to go down and visit with them all installed in Tampa too. I mean, we would go down there and aggravate them, and talk to Rob Marinelli. And I met a lot of the guys, Tomlin, a lot of the guys down there then. Very nice. He's a go-getter. You could tell.
What's your running back situation going to be like?
It's going to be good. You know, that's one thing I told our kids, we're going to do what we have to do. Fit in, let's go play football. You don't make no excuses. Go do it. The Florida's the no way.
Coach, it's supposed to be in the 40s tomorrow at kickoff. How comfortable is your team in cooler weather?
Well, yesterday we was practicing, it was like 33. I think we'll be okay.
Coach Duke Keith with KROD. What are your thoughts about, just general thoughts about players sitting out bowl games? It seems to be happening more these days. Just your thoughts. Obviously, it's their choice. But what are your thoughts about the whole thing?
And you're right, it's their choice. And who am I to say what a kid should be doing and should not be doing? You sit down, you talk to them, you educate them about life. I can't tell a kid to go or stay. I never forget Coach Bobby Bowden. I had a kid, he was a junior, projected to be in the first round. I said, Coach, what am I supposed to do? I was a young coach, about 27 years old. Started when I was 26. He said, Odell, let me tell you this. You give them all the information they need. You advise them on certain things. You don't tell them to stay or you don't tell them to go. Because what if that kid come back and get hurt? He never ever can play again. He said, you advise them and show them your heart and tell them you love them. And give them a lot of information. That's for them and their parents to do.
How big would a win in this bowl game be for this Florida State program moving forward into next year?
Well, you know what? We got to talk about it now. We got to get ready for the meetings today and go with special teams and the offense, the defense. And really, we're thinking about taking care of Florida State, the things we have to do, go out and play with them.
Coach, you've given 30 years of your life to this institution, and this will be your 4th different head coach you've worked under. I mean, we know you love Florida State, but is there a vision that you have to also see to make you want to continue to be a coach at Florida State?
You know, God gives me all my visions. It's not what I want. I pray about every situation. I've turned down numerous jobs, NFL, colleges and stuff. I enjoy doing what I'm doing. When it's not enjoyable anymore, I'll start doing something else.
Coach, can you talk me about Ricky Aguayo is a Mexican proud descendant. How is he in the for the team? How?
He's a leader. Ricky is a great dude. His brother played for us, and he was drafted by the Buccaneers. Ricky is a great guy. He's a team leader. Ricky goes out every day, works hard. Had a little slump this year, but he got out of it, and he's a great guy. He's a great leader. People, our kids respond to him.
One more question? Coach, we heard from your coordinators the other day, Coach Barnett, Coach Briles. Obviously, those are guys that, now with the new staff coming in and moving on after this year, how important is it for your players to get a win for those guys? And if you guys had internal conversations based on, going out the right way?
Well, speaking of the staff, I'm proud of this staff. They've been professionals. And really, we haven't talked about, when we talk to them, our players, about getting ready for the game, preparing for the game. But this staff has done everything I asked them to do. I take my hat off to them.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach. Next, we will bring up Coach Herm Edwards. Just a few words about Coach.
Just a few.
Just a few.
Just like Coach.
Just Coach? That's all you got to do.
Ladies
and gentlemen,
there you go.
Coach Herm Edwards.
Well, obviously, we're excited about being here and can't thank the Sun Bowl committee, all the venues that have hosted both teams have done a marvelous job. When you come to a bowl game, you anticipate events from players and families, and you guys have gone overboard to do that, to make us all feel at home. I know, visiting with the coach and his wife, same thing. We sat together a couple dinners now and talked about the experience that the players receive at a bowl game. And you can't take a bowl game lightly in the sense that it is a reward for what you've done during the season. You want players to enjoy it, but you also want them to concentrate on the task at hand. And it is about playing football. That's why we're here. The hardest thing probably in a bowl game, especially this situation that both of us are in, 30 days have gone by before we actually played a football game. That's a long time without playing a real game. And so I think tomorrow you'll see two teams that are very excited about playing. He mentioned the weather conditions, it won't matter. The weather won't be a factor. Both teams are very well coached. You watch these guys on tape, very talented. And I can say that I was with the Buccaneers, and we had a lot of Buccaneer players that played for Florida State. Been to a lot of Coach Bowden's practices, and Coach was coaching there actually with the Buccaneers, and so they've got a rich history of football. And as Coach said, they're going through a transition period similar to what ASU is going through right now. All arrows for them will be pointing up. I think our arrows are starting to slightly go in the direction we'd like them to go. They have a young football team, 32 freshmen, 2 freshmen, a redshirt freshman played for us this year. We did a pretty good job. And when you look at our team next year, we'll only have 9 seniors on our team, very young. So we need these type of experiences, playing against a team that's very talented, athletically, coached very well. This is another process of developing of our program with young players, playing against good teams. So we anticipate a good football game tomorrow. Any questions?
Coach, same question, Duke Keith KROD, as I asked Coach Haggins. What are your thoughts about players electing to sit out bowl games to prepare for the NFL draft? Just general.
Well, Coach couldn't have said it better. It's their player's choice, and I think we lose sight of this. Don't forget that these players that are sitting out actually help these teams get to the bowl games. Okay, without them, we're not here. With our 2 players, we're not here. You know, Benjamin, and obviously IU. Last year, Nikhil sat out, his first-round pick for the New England Patriots. I've been on both sides of it. I've been a former player, played in the league, coached in the league for 30 years, so I get it. Some people get all sideways. Why does them play? It's the way of the world. It's what players do. And you don't disrespect them. You don't get mad at them. I'm hoping they'll show up for the game, stay on the sideline. I knew last year our guy didn't play. Nikhil didn't play. He was on the sideline. So we're fine. And I know Coach probably feels the same way about his guys. And that's the way it is. And I think sometimes you put all this pressure on these kids, and it's their life. You give them the information. It's a part of growing up. They get to make a decision. Is it a big decision? It's a big decision. But this is their life. Whatever they've done for you as a football player, don't lose sight of that. Don't lose sight of all the good things they've done to help you win. And we lose sight of that when they decide to say, well, might not play in this game. You don't want to play, you don't want to play. We're good. Somebody else can play. As long as you play with 11, you're okay.
Coach, how have you brought the NFL model to your program, and how have the NFL guys on your staff kind of helped build that model?
Well, it's a process like anything. It's kind of new for some college coaches because of our approach and how we do things, our practice-wise, how we look at recruiting players, DNA, some of what you do in the National Football League. Now, the only difference I would say in college compared to pro football is, and I've said it numerous times, pro football you actually draft. College football they pick you. So there's relationships that start at a very young age. You're talking sophomores. You start courting these guys. And there's a lot of conversations, right? I mean, that's what this thing really becomes, of relationships with you and the coach, guys recruiting. 80% of your life of college football is recruiting. You're a good coach when you got good players. You really are. And your lifeblood is players, and you got to go recruit them. And you got to have a mechanism of how you want to go about doing it. And then when they get to your campus, most of these guys, I would say 80% of them, if you ask them, do they want to play on Sunday, they would raise their hand. Well, if you have a mechanism to show them what it takes to play on Sundays, you have a better chance. That's why Florida State is always going to have some gifted players. They have a history of players playing in the National Football League. A couple of them played for the Bucks, Derrick Brooks, Jackson Jackson, Ward Dunn, just to name a few that played for the Bucks team. They have a history of that. Arizona State has had a history of players that played in the National Football League as well. So I just think when you have universities that give players a chance to go to the next level, they look at you a little bit different, to be quite honest.
How has Antonio, guys like Antonio and Marvin, kind of helped?
And Kevin Maguire walks around with a yellow jacket, all that stuff. Especially when it's recruiting wise. And if you're going to go and walk in your room and you go, well, guess what? Antonio Pierce is my linebacker coach. Pretty good coach. Kevin Maguire, eventually going to be the offensive line coach. Okay? Pretty good coach. Haggins, played in the National Football League, wide receiver. Pretty good coach. So I think when players see that and they can tell them what it takes to get to that level, they don't talk about it, they've been about it, they've seen it. Marvin Lewis and myself have been in the National Football League together, coaching and playing 56 years. We have a lot of experience. No coach has ever given a player talent. No coach in the history of coaching in any sport. God gives them the talent. You give them information, you give them knowledge. That's what we do. We're knowledge providers. That is our task. Give them knowledge. Their task is, can they retain the knowledge? The retention of it. Can they take the knowledge you give them in the classroom, on the football field, and practice, and take it and apply it in the game? That's what we do. That's what all coaches do. Coaches are teachers. We're no different than anyone else. We're teachers. And you have great relationships in football. That's why Coach has been there for 26 years. He loves that university. It's part of his DNA. It's part of his family. You know, we're all coaches all over the country are all tied together. We get to coach this great game of football. It's helped us all. And all we're doing is giving back to the game that we love.
Coach Haggins is a teacher. He's been there, something you talk about, been there a very, very long time. Just talk about the level of respect you have for him as somebody who's seen a lot of different head coaches coming through. It's very, very unique.
Well, it is in the sense that in this game of football, there's transition. It happens. Look, it happens with players in today's world. There's this thing called the portal. Players are used to change. We recruit players now in high school that have actually gone to 3 high schools. So that's just a matter of fact. And so as much as you may think this change affects them, it's kind of normal now for coaches and players. People move around. It's just part of the deal. All the player wants to know is this. The coach that stands before me, can he help me become a better player? Coach that sits to the right of me and myself, we don't only want to make them better players, we want to make them better men. Because if we haven't done that, we failed. I mean, and that's the Florida State program. I know that from my days in Tampa, when Coach Bowden was the coach. I mean, that's their DNA. I mean, that's kind of our DNA. We want to help them be better men. They're all not going to play in the National Football League. 2%. That's it. Life expectancy is 3.2 years. then you got to go out and get a real job. How is being a football player at Florida State or Arizona State going to help you when you go into the real world? And both staffs, I know his staff, my staff, we believe in it. That's kind of what we do, besides just coaching football.
Coach, you added another coach yesterday, 24-year-old coach. With Prentice Gill and Haggins, you've really added a young dynamic to your coaching staff.
It's important. I think as a coach, not only do you coach players, but you develop coaches. Because you want coaches to move on and become a part of your legacy as coaches. You know, I was under Tony Dungy in Tampa. He taught me how to become a head coach. That's part of the coaching process. You want coaches to have opportunities to move on. They become young coaches, they come in, eventually they become coordinators, hopefully become head coaches. So that's part of our deal as well. So when you hire a young guy, a couple things have to come in mind. Can he handle the room of the players that he's about to coach? Can they communicate? Well, they can, because they're in the same era. I'm not in the era of the players that are playing now, okay? I'm on tape, but it's not high definition. It's not. It's just not. Okay, I'm in a different era. And the young coaches today, they understand that. Can I communicate? I can communicate with them. A coach can communicate with them. But they're in a different world, and you got to have guys that can, speak to what they want to hear. And when you hire young guys, you understand that. Along with this, they got to be really good recruiters. They got to be able to recruit. It's not just coaching, it's recruiting. You got to be able to recruit. How do you make those headways into certain areas where your lifeblood is in certain communities? Well, young players are all connected to that. And young coaches are connected to that. That helps you.
Coach, Irish NFL, WarChant.com. Does Florida State obviously not have the last few seasons like they traditionally had? Do they still draw the excitement out of your players when they hear they're playing in Florida State?
Absolutely. Because of the brand. They have a tremendous brand. And Coach mentioned it. And there's transitions. It's like anything. There's transitions sometimes. And they've kind of gone through that a little bit. But when you turn the film on, hey, and just think about, football, more games are lost than won. They really are. And we're all, at the end of the year, when you look at the tape, there's about 20 plays in the season. You say, hey, if we make about 6 of these, my record's a lot better. We played in 9 one-score games. I mean, do the math. You're not going to win all 9 of them. But when you play in close games, it's a play or two, it's whatever happens, and you got a better record. And so I think that's how we look at it as coaches, and I think players look at it the same way.
How do you keep your guys focused throughout the holiday season?
It's hard. It's hard. There's no doubt about it. And you've been a month away from football. Christmas, you gave some time off. And New Year's is about to hit. And these are young people, but they multitask. That's the world they live in. They live in a 15-minute world. Because after 15 minutes, they're on to something else. And so they function that way. So I just think you got to be able to coach that way. You can't coach the same way I coached 20 years ago. Athletes are different. They learn different. They multitask. Even in the NFL. You hear coaches in the NFL. NFL, okay, I've been in that league. I get it. Well, they meet all day. Let me tell you something. About every 20 minutes, a lot of these coaches, give them a phone break. NFL players. So I just think you can't fight it. You got to understand it. How do you teach them? That's what you have to figure out. They all learn different. In today's world, they learn different than they learned 20 years ago. And you can't fight it. You just got to understand. I gotta adjust the way I teach now. They still want to learn. How do you teach them so they can learn?
Last question.
From your perspective, how challenging and impressive is it to do what Odell has done, take over late in the season and pull everybody together and keep things moving forward?
Very difficult, but the character of the man tells you that his players respect him and they're going to follow him. Look, you're at a university for 26 years, what else do you need to know? He has an ultimate respect from the community, from the student body, from the players, from the administrators. They know who is leading this team right now. And when you make a change like that, you have to have a man in a good place that has good character, that has the lifeblood of FSU. He does, right? So when that happens, But when I was sitting in Arizona and it happened, I was clapping, right? And that's the right man. That's the right man for the job. And they couldn't have picked a better man, so that's where that's at.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach.
Okay, thank you.
We'll go ahead and take this opportunity for photos